Hi, everyone. Welcome to Monday Mindset Mastery. Dr. Lori McDowell here today, and I am with Barry Bevier. Barry, I love having former engineers here. Another former engineer who is now a brain expert, and he is going to share with us how we can get older without really having our brain age that much and keep our memory. So, hi, Barry. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
So thank you, Lori, and thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm this is exciting. So you mentioned I'm an engineer. Yes, I grew up on a farm in Michigan, small family farm. Went to engineering school, got a master's in civil engineering, and spent over 3 decades, most of it in Southern California, in that career. Owned my own company for a while, and enjoyed the life. My journey to the becoming a brain expert actually started about 25 years ago. I married a wonderful woman, Linda. She had two little girls, 2 and 4, and she had been diagnosed with lupus. And about 10 years earlier, and medications were keeping her symptoms under control. Her symptoms were primarily rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. And so for many years, it was keeping them under control. We worked on improving her diet. We're looking for natural things to help her reduce the pain and inflammation without having to take so many pharmaceuticals. And 25 years ago, there just wasn't what there is today that you can find. And long story short, because I could spend our whole time talking about this, but after we'd been married for a little over 10 years, her health started to go downhill very rapidly. She was diagnosed with stage 3 liver disease. Her kidney function was impaired. She'd always had digestive issues since we met. The doctors never diagnosed it, but I'm sure it's what we would call leaky gut today from the medications. And so the doctors acknowledged that the liver and kidney problems were primarily from the pharmaceuticals, 20 years of pharmaceuticals, and not necessarily the disease. Of course, the disease contributed. And I later learned we had some lifestyle habits. As I went on this journey of natural wellness, we had some lifestyle habits that were, exacerbating her situation as well. So she passed away after a 3-month bout in and out of the hospital when she was 46. And just before that, part of the journey with us was me selling my interest in my company to have more family time. So I made some choices. And just before she was hospitalized, the company that I was with was making some management changes, was reorganizing, and me and 30 people across the nation that had 20, 30 years of experience, high level project management, were let go. That turned out to be a blessing. So Linda passed away. I'm looking for a source of income. I was a little tired of engineering and started looking into natural wellness. And about 5 years later, I was introduced to the Daniel Plan program about 5 pillars of health that Rick Warren at Saddleback Church put together. And that really got me very interested. So I just self-studied natural wellness, met Dr. Amen, actually through his wife and as being part of the Daniel Plan. Took a program that he had called Brain Revolution and got certified as a brain health coach. And along the way, I studied natural remedies to prevent and heal cancer. I can't say heal, sorry, treat cancer.
Treat. Understood. No, very interesting. I love the fact that you said being let go was a blessing because my story is, I mean, much later in my life. It happened more recently, but I was fired from an engineering job, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it freed me to really live the purpose and do what I feel like I was meant to do and wish I had done it 20 years prior. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
And so it was, 8, 10 years ago, I felt a divine calling that my mission in life from here on out needs to be to learn as much as I can and provide resources to show people what they can do in their lives. So what happens to my family uh, wouldn't happen to theirs.
I love that.
And
So I guess I know nutrition is a big part of it and really, eating a healthy, much more natural. But tell us a little bit, you talk about brain health and that the brain, that I know you've said that memory loss is not, we don't have to suffer from that. Tell us, and I know you've got a book called Bright Minds and a kind of a program based on the idea of bright minds. So tell us a little bit about what are not all the details, but what are some of the things that help us have a healthy brain as we age?
well, nutrition is essential. And but I think even going farther than that, when most people think of wellness, I mean, what do you think of at first when you think of being healthy?
Right. You usually think
Diet,
of diet, healthy weight,
diet and
energy.
exercise, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I've come to learn is it's really mindset.
Hmm.
Mindset is the most important thing because you have to have the mindset that you can change your health. That just because a parent or a grandparent or a sibling had a certain disease, got a certain disease as they got older, that you are going to get it. And that just hasn't, it's not the case because it's all about our lifestyle. It's more about lifestyle than genetics, really.
Hmm.
Genetics play a role, but it's more important
Yeah. Uh,
with lifestyle.
I
Uh,
love that you mentioned mindset because for me, I believe your mindset really has an effect on everything. Because if you want your mindset, if you decide your mind wants to do something, it can, and if it decides it doesn't, it won't. And I know I'm not at the weight the healthiest I want to be, and that's a mindset choice. I've just chosen at this part of my life, I want to eat some fun stuff that I enjoy, and I'm willing to maybe not be as but mindset controls everything, and knowing that it's we can change our whole we can change everything with our mindset pretty much.
yes, absolutely. So, diet and exercise are important. Mindset is important. Sleep is important. Hydration is important. And so there's just a number of things. And, all of what we can do to stay healthy and avoid memory loss as we get older is really pretty simple. It just may not be easy to make that transition, though, because you are changing habits that you've had for years, for decades. And so it's developing that awareness of what is better for you, having the mindset and making the choice to do it, and part of the Daniel plan is doing it as a group, having support. It's tough to make changes like that uh, on your own. And with the internet, there's a lot of good information out there, but there's a lot of misinformation as well. So we need to be careful about what we learn and connect with people that are providing, the correct message, the truth, the research and the science base. And that's one thing that I've done. Recently announced the launching of my own brand, Mindful Longevity. And one thing that I promote is make sure that everything I do is research based. That it may not be mainstream medicine by Western standards, but there's research there that shows it can be effective in helping treat a disease, maintain good health, so you aren't as susceptible to disease.
Yeah. You talked a lot about nutrition. I know that's really important, in mindset. What about, for I think most people, we live a rather stressful life. and sometimes our environments are not exactly conducive to, we live in environments with lots of stress, lots of fast foods, lots of stuff that's not necessarily, the healthiest for us, where we
Right,
do everything
right.
quick. How does stress affect your brain and your aging well?
Well, the stress is, I mean, there's good stress because a little bit of the right stress motivates us and helps us to accomplish what we would like to get done. But chronic stress is bad. It affects our cortisone levels. It it's something that we should do our best to reduce. I mean, someone that has been under chronic stress for a long period is going to be more susceptible to memory loss as they get older. Um, and if that stress it can manifest itself in depression or having the blues all the time, that can contribute to the conditions that are going to be make you more susceptible to memory loss as you get older. Uh,
Okay.
but
That's
some of the things that I mean, we think about diet and exercise, and there's a lot out there about what to eat. Um, Sugar is deadly, and the, it's acidic, which makes our bodies more. When our bodies are acidic, they're more susceptible to cancer, and not going to heal as fast. And then there's all these other hidden sugars out there.
mm,
I mean, there's like dozens of sweeteners in our products that may be derived from a natural like cane sugar or beet sugar, uh, but we don't even recognize that they're sugars. So
mhm,
one part, and sugar is one of the worst things for our brain. So one of the things we can do is learn how to read food labels and learn what sugars are and do the best we can to eliminate them. Uh,
mm,
and so that's a part of eating. But people, I think, don't. Two things that are important is sleep. In reducing stress is getting good sleep. And I know that's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you're all stressed out, you may not be able to
hard to sleep.
get to sleep. It's hard to sleep. Yet there's a lot of things to do. And I mean, one of the things that I sleep pretty well.
Yeah.
I generally fall asleep within a few minutes after my head hits the pillow, and I may wake up once during the night to go to the bathroom, but that's about it. Uh, uh, but I even am challenged with what we call sleep hygiene. And that is, the hour or two before you go to bed to prepare yourself for that. Being
Mm,
being off a device, get off your phone, get off the computer, do something else, read. If you've are living with, if you've got a wife or kids, don't chat with them, talk with them. Prepare for the next day. Take a warm bath, and if you soak in Epsom salts, it helps remove toxins. So that you're doing a couple different things. So dim your lights, cool your room down. There's a lot of things we can do to improve our sleep hygiene. And I'm not a sleep expert. These are just things that I've learned, and there are sleep experts out there that can help improve your sleep. A couple of examples that Dr. Raymond gave in our study, our brain health study, was about a study with some military sharpshooters.
mhm.
And when they got 7 to 9 hours of sleep, their target accuracy, I mean, hitting the bullseye, was 90%.
Wow.
If they got between 5 and 7, that reduced to about 70%, and less than 50%.
Mm,
So that's an example of what happens with our cognition and our thinking and our accuracy when we don't get enough sleep. And I think when I was in engineering and in college, how many nights did I stay up very late working to meet a deadline, or pull all-nighters and not even go home, just stay at work the next day. Well, your effectiveness after being sleep deprived has dropped so much that you would have been better off getting the sleep and then getting back
Huh.
to work in a more focused
Mm.
manner.
No,
Um,
that's a great
so,
point.
so sleep is very important. And then the other thing is human growth hormone is made in our bodies when we sleep. And
Mm.
you need to get in, and human growth hormone is important in the aging process. So if you don't have enough, you're going to age faster. And
Okay.
so uh, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep is important. So you establish um, that regeneration of human growth hormone. But here's another thing that I learned is because of our circadian rhythm, it's also associated with the time we sleep. And 5 times, I usually ask this question, but I'll just say it. 5 times the amount of human growth hormone is generated when we sleep for 7 hours from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. than if we go to bed at midnight and sleep for 9 hours.
Hmm.
5 times just by
Wow.
shifting your sleep pattern 2 hours.
Huh.
Uh,
Very interesting. Is that now? I know like different people, they're morning people and evening people and people. Is it really that that's the average, or is it what your natural
that's
circadian rhythm is?
that's the average, and I haven't dug into it real deeply, but I suspect it would be more related to your natural
Yeah.
circadian rhythm.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I'm a 10 to 5 person, so that works good for me. So,
yeah, and I like to get up early, and but my problem is I stay up too late, and so I adjust, and maybe this isn't the best, but it's how I do it, and it works for me. Is I adjust my bedtime. I'm sorry, I adjust my awake time based on the time I get to bed, so I get at least 7 hours.
mm,
And lately, I've decided that I'm going to see what happens with 8 hours. And I have more energy. I'm more focused. I feel better. And so everybody is an individual, and so just play around with it. But sleep is very important, and I think a lot of people, especially if you're in a working environment, you're high stressed, and you don't put a priority on sleep. And I think that's one thing that we should be careful with and put.
right.
Uh,
Let me ask you two questions. I had the first. I know you talked about being hydrated. I know water is so important. So I want to ask as you drink yours, and I'm thinking I left my water bottle inside as I'm looking around for it. um, but the other thing is timing. Like these habits are all, it sounds like a lot of these habits are somewhat common sense if it feels, things that actually our body's telling us to do if we just listen to it.
right.
Um, is it, do you need to start these when you're very young, or if you don't start doing these habits till you're already at 60 or 70 years old, how does that affect your body? Is it ever too late, or can you start at any time and still get the benefits?
The earlier you start, the better. But when you start, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years
Yeah,
ago. When's the
20 years. Yeah.
second best time today? Uh, and so, yeah, anytime you start making these changes, you will typically notice a change in your wellness. And hydration is so important. Our bodies are what, 60-70% water. Our brains are even more. Our brains can be as much as 80% water. And so water is critical. One study that Dr. Amen told me about, and it was a short study with one of his patients who was a bodybuilder. And bodybuilders dehydrate to look more lean and cut before a competition.
Mm.
And so he had a series. Dr. Amen uses a particular brain scan called SPECT, SPECT. It's an acronym. Uh, and so he had a series of SPECT scans of this patient, this client. And so as he was dehydrating, they did SPECT scan. When he was fully dehydrated for the competition, which whatever fully means to be in competition, they did scan. And then they scanned him after he had rehydrated with electrolytes for a couple of days. And the scan when he was the scan of his brain when he was dehydrated looked very similar to the scan of someone who had been a drug addict or an alcoholic.
Oh,
That
wow.
it was reversible very quickly because it was the hydration element, not damage from
Right.
other chemicals. And so, I believe most people that I hang around with are chronically dehydrated. You should be drinking this. The standard is like half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you ought to be drinking 75 ounces of water. So what's that, 2.5 quarts or so? And
Right.
and people think, wow, I'll be peeing all day long if I drink that much water. But you need that water, and when you drink that much, you need to fortify it with electrolytes because you're passing all of the electrolytes out through the fluid. But we need the water, and so what do I say? Alkaline water is best, but certainly filtered water, purified of some sort, to get the fluorine and fluoride and the chlorine and other chemicals out. And now we need to worry about microplastics in our water. So hydration is very important in what we do. And I mean, even knowing, I mean, I weigh 180 pounds, even knowing that I should be drinking 3 quarts of water a day, it's difficult. And when I get up in the morning and I feel a little sluggish or maybe not have the energy or focus, I think back, what did I have? How much water did I have yesterday? And I was short on my water. But most
Mm.
people think they'll get a 16-ounce plastic bottle, and I drink 4 or 5 of those a day and I'm not thirsty. Well, you don't have to be thirsty to start that dehydration process and not have enough water.
Hmm. That makes
So,
sense. Okay. Let me ask you another question too. I know we hear a lot of stuff about, training your brain and crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles and different what from a perspective of using your brain to keep it active.
mhm.
Is there something specific you recommend, or what are the type of things that people should be looking at or thinking about?
Anything that challenges your brain, especially after you're retired and out of a work environment where you're thinking, you're actively thinking all day long. Um, Learning a foreign language, doing the word games, um, and learning or picking up a musical instrument. I played trumpet. I haven't played for 20 years. That's one thing I'm going to start finding time for, and finding a community group to play
Mm,
in, because that will re-trigger the growth of new neurons.
right.
And so, yeah, those activities are good. However, one of the most important things in maintaining good brain health is blood flow. And so exercising at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, and get your blood flowing, because that delivers more oxygen and nutrients to your brain and helps keep your brain younger. Um, uh, activities like ping pong, or now uh,
Pickleball.
pickleball. There we go. There we
Pickleball.
go.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Yeah,
Or even
are
dancing. I
good,
know dancing is great.
any racket sport really, because it
Yeah.
involves physical movement. You get your pulse rate up, and you've got the eye-hand coordination.
Mhm.
I'm here in South Carolina, close to a cousin who is in his late 70s and had a stroke 5 years ago. He used to be a very good ping pong player, and I've never played ping pong. So recently we bought a ping pong table and we play for an hour, 3, 4, 5 days a week. And I've seen a change in him as we do that, and I know it's helped me get a little bit more exercise. So that's good. But yeah, things to keep your blood flow going. I mean, just getting out for a walk. And I read something recently where people that can walk uh, a mile at a pace of 3 miles an hour have, I believe it was 50% better chance of living to 80 than those that can't do that.
Hmm.
So, it's going to help with your cardiovascular, and that's going to improve your brain. So blood flow to the brain is good. And there's certain foods like beets and turmeric that help with your blood flow and increasing oxygen. I'm involved with a medicinal mushroom company, and they've clinically shown taking those mushrooms increases your oxygen levels by 30%.
Oh,
That's
wow.
huge in maintaining good brain health as you get older. And then one thing, I actually bought one for my home because I couldn't find one in a gym, but vibration plates.
Mm.
Vibration plates are very good to exercise on, and it's something you can do at home, or if
You
you
can
find
just,
a gym that has them. They do a lot to increase your blood flow and oxygen to your brain, as well as help with bone density. So that's
okay.
another thing that,
Another thing
more
that's,
prominent in women, but men need it as well, is to keep our bone density high.
okay. I had not thought about that. Yeah, no, I had a guest on a couple months ago, Jeanette Colehouse, who was talking about Beamer, which I don't know if you're familiar with Beamer, but to keep
Right.
your blood flow going. So that was one of the big things that it said that helps you improve blood flow.
And I'm glad to see some of these health equipment companies starting to make equipment that's affordable for the home.
Hmm.
Red light therapy is good. Beamer is good, and if you can find, if there's available, you can have it at home. That makes it even better, because if it's there staring at you, you're going to use it. Whereas if you have to
Yeah,
drive
it's a
20
little,
minutes to go to a clinic to get it, and pay more for it, then you may not be as prone to do
yeah.
it. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I have
more.
a little I was gonna say I have a little infrared sauna in my house and I go in it for 20 minutes every morning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no silver bullet. It's just a bunch of different modalities that we can put into play, and they all help. And the more you do, the better. And so
Okay. So
yeah.
Barry, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, or do you have something you want to talk about, how would they reach out to you? Or I know you have your book, how would that you have a chapter in the book. Tell us a little bit about that.
About the book,
Well, about the book, and also if someone wanted to reach you, how they would
how to
reach
reach
you.
out to me. You can, I think, finding me on connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn is an easy way. Lori, if we have a way to put up my email on the,
Yeah, we can, what we can't put, I don't know how to do it on here, but we can put it in the different
we can put it
platforms.
in the
So
platforms. Yeah, so that's easy. Um, and yeah, I'd love to chat with people, and share my journey, because I think it's important, and it's my calling now. So uh, yeah, and then the book. So I was invited to participate in a 13-book series called The 13 Steps to Riches. And I was telling Lori before we got started that it was an expression of gratitude for a friend being a part of my journey. And I didn't know he was starting this book project. So it's a 13-book series called The 13 Steps to Riches. It's based on Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And each one of his chapters, each one of our books is based on one of his chapters. So there's a book on
mm,
desire, and one of the books is on the brain. And so I have a chapter in there about the brain. And it's based on one of Dr. Amen's programs called Bright Minds, where each letter in Bright Minds is something important to keeping your brain healthy as you get older. So B is for blood flow. R is retirement, how changes that we often make contribute to our brain deteriorating. I is inflammation. G is genetics. And I'll pause there for a minute. I won't get through all of them. I'll pause there for a minute. We mentioned that maybe relatives, or it's in your bloodline, that people have get memory loss or Alzheimer's or dementia. And there is a gene, it's the APOE4 gene, that can be tested, that tells you whether you're more susceptible than normal to getting memory loss. But if you do have the gene, if you do have it in your family, that's not a death sentence. That should be a wake up call, because
Mhm.
there's so much you can do to keep your memory sharp as you get older when you know what to do and you have the mindset to do it.
No, that's good to know. It's not, yeah, you still have, just because you have something doesn't mean, I mean, there are people who have, had horrible diseases and lived to be 100 and so, and when the average lifespan for them should have been in the 50s or 60s. So it really does depend on,
E-
you as an individual.
Exactly. And that goes for other diseases as well, not just memory loss. That's with diabetes and heart conditions and really everything. We can improve our chances of not getting a disease when we take care of ourselves. And the younger you start, the better. And one thing I'm hearing lately is there's an increasing incidence of colorectal cancer in younger people in their 30s. And I believe that's totally related to this fast food convenience diet that we
Mhm.
have. I mean, it takes time to buy fresh food, to find and pay the extra for organic food, or garden it yourself and then prepare it to cook. But it's healthy and it's so much better for you. Uh,
Yeah, and it's a way to use your. I love cooking, and I know using. People say you want to do brain exercises, and cooking and creating recipes and figuring out creative ways to use different foods and different vegetables is fun in a way that you really can, like, you're exercising your brain, you're changing your mindset, and you're cooking something that's healthy and delicious.
Right. And it can be a social thing or a family thing. I mean, when Linda was around and the girls were still at home, we would make a family event out of preparing a nice dinner, and we'd all
Hmm.
help fix it and cook it, and yeah, so
Yeah.
it can do a lot of things. I mean, me being single and eating healthy, it gets to be a bit of a chore. But again, you've got to make the decision and the mindset that this is something you have to do. So you figure out ways to do a lot of food prep, or cook meals, so you've got things prepared, so you don't have to do the cooking every night. You can just reheat it, and don't reheat it in a microwave. Microwaves destroy the nutrients. So
Oh, good point. All
yeah.
right, Barry. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I learned the growth hormone thing was very interesting to me, because I always hear about growth hormone when you're younger, teenagers,
Mhm.
and I never really thought about that as we age. So that's something that, and the fact that sleeping really helps that. I had not thought about that. But I'm sure everyone else learned something here they could use. And if you have questions, again, reach out to Barry. He's happy to answer them. Before we leave today, Barry, if you wanted to leave one tip or one piece of advice with the audience, what would it be?
Oh, uh, be open-minded. Understand that we do not have to get these what we think of as age-related diseases as we get older, including dementia. That we can reduce the potential by 80%, 75, 80%, just by living a healthier lifestyle. And the sooner you start, the better. But just start. And then one other thing I'd like to mention: this summer I'm going to start doing two things online. I'm going to do a master class called Bright Minds. So it'll be the full lesson about things to do to keep your mind sharp as you get older. And then I'm developing uh, uh, probably be a half day that the master class will be free. A half day that I'll charge for, that will be on brain health and health habits that can help you avoid really any disease as you get older. So that'll be about a half day session of
Okay.
workshop.
Well, great. Well, if you're interested in those, make sure you reach out to Barry, get that information. A couple of things that popped up that I want to mention. We talked a little bit about mindset, and I think part of that too, in the mindset and being open-minded and such, but it's also being happy and having a
Mhm.
positive mindset and a joyful mindset. And I have a book. My book, it's almost a year old, almost exactly. I think it'll be a year old tomorrow when it came out June 3rd last year. But it's called the Reinvention Mindset, and it's how you can really
Mhm.
reinvent your mindset at any age and make today the best day of your life, and tomorrow can be even better. So if you, the book's on Amazon, or you can reach out to me if you're interested. And I also do these retreats, and for myself and for others, transformational retreats. And I think travel is another great way to stay young, because you get to see the world, you get to see different cultures, you get to meet people, you have that community. So consider, whether it's even a local retreat or a local event in your neighborhood, or a trip, or going on group tours or a retreat. I think traveling, getting out there and connecting with other people is another great way to stay young, because the more we grow, our mind, the more we learn. That keeps us young too.
Right, exactly. And one thing I didn't mention, but thank you for bringing it up, is socializing is
Hmm.
very important. Um, if you're involved, be active in your church, find clubs, do stuff with your neighbors, but get together socially, because that's a very important part of mental health overall. And if our mental health is good, our physical health is going to follow.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone, Barry. This has been great, and I think everyone watching has gotten a lot out of it, and you can watch it over and over again if you missed anything. Um, Next week we will have a new guest. I will be putting up who it is and all the details soon. I don't have all the details yet, but join us every Monday at 11 o'clock for Monday Mindset, 11 o'clock Central Time for Monday Mindset Mastery on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear any comments you have in any of the platforms. So thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this.